Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Santa Barbara Nutrients YouTube channel. We have a very special guest with us today, Jess Saville, who is a registered dietitian and board-certified renal nutrition expert. Jess runs an innovative private practice focused on pioneering integrative nutrition approaches for PKD and CKD. She runs courses for dietitians to teach them in-depth nutrition therapy for kidney patients and directs the nonprofit Renal Line. Today, we're really going to be focusing on the RenNu program, which is a plant-based, low oxalate nutrition program for people with PKD. And this was developed by PKD research experts and renal nutrition experts. So we'll go ahead and kind of just start off, Jess, with what is the RenNu program?
Well, thank you for letting me be on here today. I love talking about RenNu. It's been a big effort of heart, and for us, it's been a really, really significant, professional endeavor, and it has been an endeavor. So the RenNu program, RenNu stands for renal nutrition, and that's essentially like the heart of RenNu. And RenNu for us is a 12-week plant-focused ketogenic diet, and it is made specifically for people with polycystic kidney disease so that they can learn how to adopt a plant-focused ketogenic lifestyle. And really important, and something we love about this program, is we include mindset in the program. So it's a nutrition and mindset program. Both of those things are really, really critical for getting the best outcome possible and being able to make really positive changes.
That's awesome. I think the mindset, like you touched base on, that is probably one of the components that is very, very important as well, too. You need everything in order to have these long-term health benefits. So you talked about the RenNu program being kind of a 12-week online program. How did this program start, I guess? What was that kind of building up in that moment where it first launched?
This is a great story. So it started back in 2019. I saw some of the research come out on ketogenic diets, and I honestly was super skeptical. I was reading it and I was like, I don't know. And I remember even posting out across the renal dietitian group, would anyone actually ever do a ketogenic diet for your patients? And I was really skeptical of it, but I became very engaged with PKD because I had a really special patient and I wanted to find her the best outcome possible. And she had been plant-based, she'd done all sorts of things, and her kidney function continued to decline. And I was like, okay, well, let's look at another option, right? Because the goal has to always be a good outcome. I happened to be going to California for a conference prior to the pandemic, and I asked Dr. Wimes if I could swing by his lab, and I was able to meet him and a lot of the researchers there, and I was just so impressed by the story and the thought process and the authenticity behind the research. And I thought, I wonder, could we do a ketogenic approach that's not so meat heavy? I said, because ketosis in and of itself is not bad, right? It can actually be it's such an amazing therapy. The meat part makes me really worried with kidneys. So I wonder if we could do a plant-focused ketogenic approach. Is that possible? Is that out there? And that's really where some of the journey started. What we ended up doing from there is we trialed a couple patients with a plant-focused ketogenic approach in my private practice. And then from there, I asked Diana Bruin to help us start working on a group program. And the reason why was number one, being able to service more people. Number two, it gave us a foundation for eventually being able to run a clinical trial. And Dr. Wimes and his team and all Santa Barbara Nutrients has been incredibly supportive of that and really, really helped out with it a lot. It's been really a joint, a joint venture on both sides. And we include KetoCitra as part of the program because I do think it's such a conscientiously developed product. And we really like how it can synergistically work with the diet. So people don't have to use it in RenNu, but we like how it fits in for a lot of the participants. So
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned, KetoCitra. I guess for those who don't know, if you can kind of talk about that just briefly too, and how it pairs with some of the nutrition and dietary lifestyle changes that individuals learn in the RenNu program.
sure. Yeah, so so during the 12 weeks in your plant-focused ketogenic diet, you go through a couple phases. So at first you're just learning about, just trying out recipes, kind of getting ready for it, and then you move into actually following a ketogenic diet, and and then you figure out what your long-term plan is going to be. Are you going to always be in ketosis or not?
Mhm.
KetoCitra has fit in really well because it allows our patients, since it's an exogenous ketone and a combined citrate product, it allows them to not only have a little bit of an edge with oxalate management, but it gives them also um, gives them a little bit more flexibility with their ketogenic diet. I remember that's what exogenous ketones can do. So I remember one of our first participants, she'd actually been in ketosis for 2 years, and she decided to do the program with us. And she mentioned that, she went out to a restaurant and she's like, I never, quote unquote, cheat. Excuse me. But tonight at the restaurant, I had, like a little bit of a cookie, and I was still able to stay in ketosis. And because she had on some extra exogenous BHB. So for us, it's a really great way to just support the whole ketogenic therapy is by using both products, along with, teaching people how to put all the pieces together that you need in order to have a really kidney smart and a kidney safe ketogenic approach.
Right. Yeah, I think that's actually a great story too, because some of the individuals talking about just KetoCitra in general talk about how, it helps them stay in ketosis a bit longer and they can kind of flex a little bit because staying on a ketogenic diet, I mean, it takes, a lot of kind of, effort and things like that. Of course, people are capable of doing that, but I think the time commitment as well too. And so having a teeny bit of flexibility is really helpful. If we go back a little bit just to the 12-week, online course, what can individuals expect out of, time commitment, I guess? Is this weekly? Is it, 2 hours a day? What's that kind of look like?
That's a great question. So when people come in, it's actually ends up running over 16 weeks, but the first 4 weeks are kind of a preparatory period. So during that first 4 weeks, we do an orientation session. They get to see the other RenNu participants, and they get to kind of get the gist of how the program is going to work. And then over that next month, they have a visit with their dietitian, which is about an hour. It's one-on-one, so they can really understand, what they are going to personally need in the program, what kind of support. And then, and then they're just, trying out recipes and just kind of, getting their pantry set up so they can start. Then during those 12 weeks, the time commitment is people attend a class once a week for an hour. This ends up being very, very well attended. We have probably more than 80% of our participants usually attend the class. Um, and it's an incredible community. It's really positive. It's people that are willing to talk about PKD, talk about what's tough, talk about how it's working for them. And we always give, one layer of the education at every single week, which is
Mhm.
amazing. So it's, really step by step. So you have an hour of class. If you can't attend, you can watch the recording, but a lot of people will just attend the class. And then we have a pre-recorded mindset module, usually about 10 minutes or so, and people will listen to that outside of class. It's really short. And then whatever you need to do for food prep.
Mm.
So if you are always eating out all the time, RenNu is not a good program for you.
Mhm.
You have to be able to spend a little bit of time in the kitchen. You don't have to spend hours and hours every day,
Right.
but you need to be able to give a couple nights a week, probably 20, 30 minutes to be able to prep a dinner. We work really hard with our participants to help them find something that's going to
Mhm.
work for them. And there's a little bit of trial and error. But they have to, they have to cook a little bit. And that's honestly a good habit for all of us. So that's the only other time commitment that is involved with it. Then you meet with your dietitian at 6 weeks, one-on-one again, and then at the end. And other than that, it's just the classes and what you're working on outside of the program.
Yeah, which is like, a long-term effort, of course. But I think that's really, great that you highlighted. It's kind of a one-on-one meeting with a dietitian. So individuals are really able to get that personalized, education component as well that will work specifically for them.
Yes.
And so,
It's
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that is really like some of the secret sauce is that there's tons of free information. If you want to learn how to do a ketogenic diet or plant focused ketogenic diet, there's tons of information out there, right? That's free. So you could probably put together the pieces if you take a lot of time. But we help make that so much
Mhm.
easier, and we're able to pick up when there are pitfalls in your care that no one else can pick up on. Just a quick example, then we'll move on to your question. So, our last group, we had a participant, and she really struggled to get in ketosis, honestly. Like, her ketones were like zero point 0.3, zero point 0.2, cannot figure out why. And, there were issues with her blood pressure and getting major headaches and like tired all the time. Um, and the dietitian, Diana was her dietitian, and she's real smart. She's like, there's just something that's not right here, right? There's something that's not fitting together. And she asked the doctor to draw a specific set of labs, and they saw that she was severely iron deficient, not just anemic. On her like regular lab, she didn't look like she had anemia. She's significantly iron deficient, and they corrected that.
Wow.
And she got in better ketosis, and was able to, her migraines went away. She wasn't tired, and like everything just needs some iron. So having that one-on-one with a dietitian, having someone that's looking out for you in the program, someone you can message if you're having problems, is such an incredible resource, and it makes it easy, right? It makes it so much easier because you have a plan. I mean, these are the best dietitians. They know how to think through and walk through barriers so that it's really smooth sailing with adopting a plant-focused ketogenic diet.
Yeah, that I'm glad you shared that, story because I think that not only is it that personalized thing that a lot of people get if you're Googling online, you're trying to find these things, right? Yeah, probably in the long run, you can maybe put together some pieces, but there are going to be huge gaps as well. And so, that personalization is something kind of like the key to success in a way. And I think the
Yeah.
RenNu program does a great job also creating a community with like-minded people who are in this effort together. You can bounce ideas off of each other, and that also kind of helps you to stay on track and make it a little bit easier to adopt these nutritional interventions.
Absolutely. I mean, I cannot say how many times I have been impressed by the friendships that come up. It makes me like at the last class, we kind of do a recap and people kind of share their experience. And every single time it makes me tear up and get emotional because the people are so supportive of each other. I mean, the people that want to reach out and find, a support person, the people that want to be able to feel like PKD is not a destiny for them, right? Dialysis is not their destiny. Like, okay, they have PKD, so what am I going to do about it? Like, people just find a different type of strength where the disease does not rule their life anymore. And that is so incredible. I love seeing that in RenNu. And we've seen it with both the previous groups that have gone through,
Mhm.
as they get this huge amount of empowerment where in a conventional setting, a lot of times people hear, oh, there's nothing you can do because you have PKD. Don't do keto. There's no clinical trials.
Mhm.
Don't, we're here for you when you need to get on transplant, or we're here for you if you have to get on dialysis, and, cross your fingers, you're going to be okay. But to be able to feel empowered that there's something you can do, why not try this out? You've got nothing to lose. If
Right.
it's kidney safe, then, why not?
Mhm.
And I love that because it gives people back the power of choice in their health. And
Yeah.
that's, such an incredible gift.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that, nutrition is really a main component of a lot of things. And so having this program that really focuses on that, provides empowerment, provides the tools people need is, absolutely amazing. And I think that you guys are doing a wonderful job with that. And everybody, is always looking for a community of people who share these same experiences, and I think that's, one of the main things that RenNu provides and offers. I mean, obviously a lot more, but I think that long-term friendship is absolutely key. And so I know you talked about, it's intended for people with polycystic kidney disease, but are there certain stages or, who would potentially qualify to get into the program?
This is a really, really good question. So, the RenNu program is primarily for people whose GFR is above 25. If you're later stage, a lot of times you need some one-on-one support because you end up having some extra complexities to your nutrition, and you need a lot more close monitoring. So we do put a hard stop on a GFR of 25. So if your GFR is 25 or above, it's a really good program. The other thing that we have found is tricky is if people have really significant digestive issues already, RenNu is not going to work out for them. They really need to sort through some digestive, healing first before they move into a ketogenic diet. And it's not that you can't do a ketogenic diet in either of those cases. In my private practice, we worked with people whose GFR is 6. So you can, but sometimes you need that extra monitoring, and where it's a group program, and when you have that close eye of the dietitian, it's not the same as if you're doing one-to-one, you're meeting with them weekly.
Right.
So you really, GFR greater than 25,
Okay.
and no major GI issues. Other than that, the best people are people that are willing to come in and try some new things. They're willing to be, pioneers in the field of PKD. The program helps not just them, like the person who's in the program, it helps the individual. But I honestly feel like the work that we do at RenNu benefits the whole PKD community because the program and our experience as professionals, looking at labs, looking at, people's experience with the diet, looking at difficulty level and feasibility, all of those are very important and preparatory for making a clinical trial and developing a therapy that can be used on a regular basis for people with PKD, and that can be adopted in the conventional medical setting. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's super important. And, when you're talking about, we'll go back to anybody greater with a GFR of 25. So if somebody, kind of just needs educational resources or handouts in their GFRs, lower than 25, are there options in the meantime that maybe they can have to work with and kind of help that up to ultimately maybe be able to get into the RenNu program at some time?
So one of the best things you can do, and excuse me, I got a little bit cold tonight, but one of the best things that you can do is honestly work with a dietitian, even if it's for one visit. And I love that Santa Barbara Nutrients has a curated, group of dietitians and physicians and doctors that are willing to work with people and that know about PKD and are supportive. I think that's really, really important. But even if you have one visit with a dietitian and you could talk through what are the things for me personally that are the low hanging fruit, what is easy for me to change, that's not going to be a big deal, even if it's like oxalates or how you're going to be fasting or not fasting or how many carbs you eat or whatever. In just one visit, you can find a lot of the resources. If you just want to dabble in ketogenic diets and plant-focused ketogenic diets, you can look at some of the websites. My private practice does keto kidney recipes. You can look at some of the resources from Kidney Nutrition Institute. You can look at some of the resources that Santa Barbara Nutrients is putting out. So if you want to just try a couple little things, that's fine. But I really think that people can move from point A to point B and prevent so much confusion, just so much, if they could just have just one visit, even just one visit with a dietitian who understands PKD, you end up getting a strategy that can serve you for years and years and years.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great. Being proactive is really key. And, even if you're in the later stages, you can still get that help. You can still get that education and those resources. And as Jess alluded to, Santa Barbara Nutrients, they do have a list of curated practitioners who are all, renal practitioners or physicians. And so that link will be posted below as well, too. And I guess one of the exciting questions, and not, everything's been great so far, but it was my understanding that the first RenNu beta tester program was last summer. And it sounds like some of the kind of results and research and things like that are potentially coming out soon. And I was wondering if you could maybe share a little bit about the success rates in the program, and some of the things that went really well, according to the individuals who were in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about this because it's exciting. It's just exciting to see the needle move for people where it's always been a slow decline. Now people are starting to see that things can change, right? And in so many ways. I mean, GFR is not the only number that matters, and it's where a lot of decisions are made. But there's so many other parameters: how you feel, what's your energy, what's your confidence, what's your, all that sort of thing. So we did submit to the Kidney Dialysis Journal an article talking about the program and kind of validating just the program itself. Not as much digging into results of participants, even though we did see some, but really looking into, is this a feasible program to utilize in the future? And that has been really good. So a couple just highlights from that is that more than half of our participants, and I'd say close to either they strongly agreed or somewhat agreed. So I'd say 50% strongly agreed, and the other 40%, so almost 90% of our patients agreed that the RenNu program improved their PKD symptoms, whether that was fatigue or pain or whatever. Like 90% of our patients said that it made an impact on them in that first group. They saw that even after the initial 2 weeks, 100% of people saw that their brain fog went away, and that's just part of ketosis. A couple other really good, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes over here, is when you look at dietary satisfaction. So some people think like, plant-focused keto, I don't know if I like that. It's not a vegan diet, number one. We use eggs, we use fish, we use some dairy. And that's really, really important for how we approach this. Some people at a higher GFR might include a little bit of chicken or beef. But for lower GFRs, we keep the protein within kidney guidelines. But our patients, they rated the diet. I'm just looking at this, 60, like 96% either rated their diet satisfaction out of a 4 out of a 5 or a 5 out of a 5.
Wow.
So like the food's good. Fat actually tastes pretty amazing. So if you know how to put it in your diet in the right way and you combine it with these beautiful, colorful dishes with tons of vegetables, it's powerful. It's really, really powerful. People like it. Like the food is good. You're not going to feel like the food is boring for sure. You got to invest just a little bit of time into it, but the food is amazing. And, we have participants that travel and they figure out how to travel while on a ketogenic diet. We have participants that are busy and working professionals, and, we talk through those pieces too. But, 90% say they love the food.
That's huge.
Yeah, so we had more than 85% that said that the curriculum was easy to understand, which means, for us, it was really important to do step by step by step by step. And we don't talk about oxalates on day one. We talk about, let's get into ketosis. What does that mean? We're not even worried about protein at that point. Like, let's just get into ketosis. Ketosis is step number one because you're in this program because you want to learn how to do a ketogenic diet. So ketosis. Then the next step is this. And that scaling of the curriculum and the layering of the diet makes it really easy to adopt because you're just doing a little bit at a time, and you'll see that it's not as hard as you think. And, the true mark of something that is powerful is that it feels simple and it feels pretty easy. Yeah. And we really try and have that. The last data point that I just want to note is the resilient mindset. This part is really important to us. We put it in there. You might think, I'm just trying to learn ketosis. Why do you need to learn about a resilient mindset? Or, thinking about kidney health instead of kidney disease all the time. It's so, so important for us. And we had people regularly rate on a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 or a 5, that the RenNu program and that the mindset instruction help them have
Yeah.
confidence to make necessary diet changes.
Mhm.
And it totally does. And not just that, but you start being able to make peace with the feelings of anger or fear or anxiety about the diagnosis, and you learn those tools. And so again, like, RenNu is about having PKD not rule your life.
Mhm.
And it's just a part of your life, and we all have hard things, but it becomes a part of your life, and we can move it into that frame because you have some empowering tools to make it at that point for you.
Right, right. Yeah, wow. That statement gave me chills because you're right. It doesn't need to control your life. It's not who it doesn't define who you are, right? It's a
Yeah.
part, and you can definitely make steps to kind of work with it throughout your life. And so I'm glad you talked about that mindset idea, because one of my questions was to follow up was how easy it is to kind of stick to this nutrition and dietary lifestyle changes long term. And it sounds like that mindset component from individuals who have been in the program, that is encouraging for these long-term interventions, and the ability to stick with it. So I think that's really, really important to highlight, because yes, it might be intimidating, but that's why you have professionals working with you, right? That's why you have renal dietitians on the team, to ease you into these changes and have long-term success.
Yep. And
Very.
just sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Alexa, but on that same line, um, one of the reasons we have a visit with a dietitian at the end of the program is to determine your long-term strategy.
Mhm.
And for some people, like, they are 100% in the program, they do the whole program, but they wonder, do I have to stay in ketosis for my whole life?
Mhm.
Because I really miss or like learn this and this or that, or whatever. And that's a very important conversation that you have with the dietitian on what's your long-term plan.
Mhm.
Excuse me, what's going to work for you long term. But the dietitian, she can really hone in on um, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in ketosis? I mean, do you like ketosis? Is it working out for you, or intermittent fasting? And it's another place again where KetoCitra really starts coming into the conversation, because it ends up, for some people that maybe they're not going to stay in ketosis for forever, they don't want to, or they need to learn how to cycle ketosis. KetoCitra gives them a little bit of baseline still of supporting, the
Mhm.
processes
Right.
of, BHB production and et cetera. And so that ends up being, part of the conversation too.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Great. There's a huge support system, basically, by practitioners and then also by other individuals. And so I love that community that RenNu's creating. This has been extremely informative. And, it's my understanding that the RenNu program is also currently recruiting for another round. And so, how do people sign up for the RenNu program?
Yeah, so so we are recruiting right now. Our launch date for the orientation, where you have that 4-week kind of orientation period, is May 4th. So we're taking
Okay.
applicants up until, looking at my calendar, April 22nd, April 29th. As soon as it's full, then we close the program. We generally have over 100 people apply, and we can only take about 42.
Wow.
Um, but it definitely, if you are thinking about this, if this is something you want to tackle now, this is a great time to come in.
Mhm.
The next program after this probably won't start until January. So this is our
Wow.
last
Okay.
program for this year. We have a clinical trial coming up and a couple other things. And so this will be our last program for 2022. So this is a good time to go in. What you need to do is go to ren-nu.org, and then you can click on the program, and then you click on apply now,
Okay.
and then you fill out this application. We have people apply because, again, the program's not right for everyone. We don't
Mhm.
ever say this program's for everybody with BKD, but for the right person, it is phenomenal. So we have people apply to the program. We review the applicants every Friday. I'm not involved with that, but the RenNu dietitians are. So they review the applicants every Friday, and then on Monday we let people know, have you been accepted in, have you not been accepted in, and if you're not accepted in, maybe your GFR is super low, or you're overseas. Right now we can only service USA and some
Okay.
parts of Canada. then we let you know where you can look and where you can still find some help.
Hmm.
So,
Great. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. Yes. So last one of this year. So they're recruiting now, and the link also will be posted below where you can sign up in the RenNu website as well, just for
yes,
future reference.
perfect.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah. This has been extremely informative, Jess. I really appreciate your time, and I just wanted to, ask: is there anything else that you might have wanted to address or talk about that maybe we might not have touched on yet?
I guess the only other thing is that just to mention is that RenNu runs through a nonprofit. So people are making a bunch of money off of running this
Mhm.
program. My for-profit donates to the program to help pay the dietitians and get it up and running. But it runs through a nonprofit. So while the program does have a fee attached to it, it's $1,500. You can break it down into 3 payments of $550. That's to pay for the dietitian, and it goes back and pays forward for scholarships for people to come in. It pays forward to help us run the clinical trials.
Mhm.
And To me, that's a really, really important piece. We could have ran this program through a for-profit. I mean, it could have ran through Santa Barbara
Right.
Nutrients or my private practice, but we ran it through a nonprofit because we really believe that this is something that has to be
Mhm.
researched. We believe that it has to be available to a wider community, and that every single person who participates, I mean, I always say it's for you. Like, you as the individual in the program are going to gain so much.
Mhm.
But also, the cool thing is, it's like a stone in the pond. It has a huge ripple effect for almost all people with PKD.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. It's paying it forward, right? I love how you
It
have
is
that structured. That's
always
great.
paying it forward. Yeah, and it's cool, Alexa. Our past RenNu participants, um, at Christmas time or Giving Tuesday in November,
Mhm.
we send out a note to them to sponsor one scholarship. And so our first group, our beta test, they sponsored a scholarship
Oh,
in
wow.
our last program. And so it's such a cool like circle of people being like, you can do this. We know you can do this. Like, PKD
Yeah.
doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to control your life. Like
Mhm.
PK, you can learn how to control it and be empowered. And people just are really, really generous with them being able to pay it forward and share their experiences and share in a
Yeah.
community.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's how everyone learns best, right? So
Totally,
that's
totally.
absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much, Jess, for sharing, more information about the Renew program. And again, we will have the link to sign up and the link for the Renew website in general posted below this video. So thank you again, Jess. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Oh, awesome. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so appreciative for Santa Barbara Nutrients and their work in behalf of PKD too. So
Yeah.
thanks for letting me be
Been a
here.
team effort.
Yep, team effort. Go team. So,
All right. Thanks again, Jess. Take care.
yep, bye bye.
Bye.